Brewmaster is receiving some pretty interesting changes in the next couple of weeks. We're getting actually some Master of Harmony buffs this next upcoming Tuesday, and the 11.0.5 patch is going to actually see a quality of life change to Shado-Pan. And in this video, I'm going to quickly go over those, both the Master of Harmony as well as the Shado-Pan stuff, so feel free to use the timestamp below to skip around if you need to. Anyways, let's just dive right into this. So this upcoming Tuesday, we are actually seeing a ton of tuning changes. I'm not going to go over everything because I don't know much about a lot of things except tanks specifically. But in this video, let's just focus on the monk specifically. So hero talents as well as Brewmaster are getting some changes. So let's go over it really quick. Now, Stored Vitality causes an additional 40% healing and damage. This was 25%, so this is actually a pretty decent buff. Essentially, if you haven't been playing Master of Harmony or if you're unfamiliar, essentially as you deal damage, a percentage of that is stored on your character as a buff, and then when you cast Celestial Brew, it's expunged, doing damage or healing, depending on like different hero talents that you could choose, which is great. This is a fine buff. Master of Harmony just has seemed to be behind in the damage department, so it's nice to kind of see this kind of thing. Anyways, specifically for Brewmaster, we now have the Coalescence now causes Aspect of Harmony to increase damage and healing taken by 20%. So again, another buff on top of that. Chi Wave and Chi Burst now are going to deal 100% increased damage compared to 50. This means that you're going to have a lot more AoE burst damage with Chi Burst. Chi Wave you don't really run too often unless you just don't feel like you're hitting Chi Burst, or if you're just not hitting Chi Burst because you're still learning the class, you do take Chi Wave. But Chi Burst dealing 100% more damage compared to the 50 is going to make it competitive with like the keg smash damage you're getting from Shado-Pan. So this is fun. You have a nice little 30-second cooldown that you're able to send. Obviously, it's a little clunky because it's a cast, and I know a lot of people don't like casting, but there's ways to work around this. You can either like start with the leg sweep into the Chi Burst cast so you're not delayed. You can also pull with it, and while it maybe isn't as efficient in terms of like how much mobs you're hitting, you're still able to get a good bit of damage out, and you're not getting delayed, and it gets you good threat on the start of the pull. I think this is a great change. I personally love hitting Chi Burst. I know a lot of players don't, but that's okay. Master of Harmony is also getting Overwhelming Force buffed by about 25%. This means that all of your single target abilities cleave. That's what it does. So again, another reason why you can kind of drop Spinning Crane Kick from your bars. You're just going to be doing your single target rotation and benefiting from that, cleaving onto 2, 3, 4, 5 targets. And then I think it does reduce damage after that. So all around a good change. And then Balanced Stratagem is increasing from 3 to 5%, so about a 40% buff here, which is great. Balanced Stratagem is when you use a physical spell, it increases the damage of your next like nature/fire spell, and vice versa. So when you keg smash, your next breath of fire is increased by 5%, and when you breath of fire, your next physical spell is increased, so like your blackout kick, for example. But the thing is, it stacks up to 5, so you can like keg smash, and then a blackout kick, and then a tiger palm, and then a spinning crane kick, and now your next breath of fire is going to be increased by 20% compared to 15. So all around, pretty good, or I should say 12. So that's the changes that we're getting this next Tuesday. So if you're someone who likes playing Master of Harmony but always feel like you're a little bit behind in terms of like damage or whatever it might be, definitely now a more valuable or viable option, I should say. I think all around in Mythic Plus, I still think Shado-Pan is going to end up being better because you do get a 10% flat DR, and even though you are getting like an increased healing increase and you're getting increased damage, you're most likely still going to play Shado-Pan, is my thought doing this. I tried logging into PTR. It's not updated on the PTR, so I can't even really test this. Generally speaking, though, probably still, it's definitely like pulling them in line, which is obviously good. So that brings me to the next kind of part, which is going to be the 11.0.5 changes. And I'll have both of these linked down below, so if you want to read about this kind of stuff, you can. But basically, what Blizzard is doing for specifically hero talents on Shado-Pan is they're trying to make some quality of life adjustments to Shado-Pan. I think a large criticism early on in the beta cycle was it's too hard to get Flurry Strike charges, and then a little bit after that they kind of fixed that, but then it's like, okay, it takes too much energy to actually expend the Flurry Strike charges, so you're not really benefiting from it. And then they obviously reduced that down from 400 to 300 energy. They made it so the Wisdom of the Wall shadow buff is actually increased to 40 seconds instead of 20, which allowed you to actually benefit from that damage. So Shado-Pan went like through the roof in terms of damage. But what they're doing now, again, is they're reducing it even further from 300 down to 240, which is great. But to compensate for that increase of expenditure, they're going to reduce the uptime on Wisdom of the Wall as well as against all odds. All of these reductions are like adjacent to each other. So like while you're proccing more flurry strikes, they're also then reducing the uptime to keep it in line. Now, for my testing on PTR, you can still proc it fairly consistently if you're really good and aggressive with your energy spenders, or like you're in cooldowns with Lust or PI or whatever it might be. You can actually like keep multiple Wisdom of the Wall buffs active. But all in all, it just actually has you rotating quicker through each of the buffs, and you're proccing more flurry strike damage consistently. One other thing that they're doing is that they're increasing how much damage is required to actually get a flurry strike charge, but this again isn't going to change anything for multiple reasons. First, Keg Smash is doing a ton of damage anyways. On top of that, your flurry strikes actually generate, so like once you proc flurry strikes in AoE, you instantly go back up to 10 stacks, so your next flurry strike's like ready to go. And they're actually reducing the damage slightly of how much flurry strikes does, and again, this is to keep it in line since you're going to be proccing it more often, about 20% more often. You're now going to deal less damage, so it's again keeping it in line. The last little change that they're doing is they are making it so flurry strikes, the against all odds buff, now only lasts for 5 seconds instead of 6, but again, you're proccing it more often, so you're actually going to see a slightly higher uptime against all odds, which is kind of nice. Now, one last thing I do want to talk about, which I think is very, very convenient, especially for people who are like not super good at making weak auras, or they play with like a base UI, is they actually added a flurry strike energy tracker like in the game as like a buff on yourself. So up in the right hand corner on your buffs, you can actually see it show you how much energy you've spent before it procs. And so basically you can track this, you can look at it, you could be like, all right, as soon as I hit 240 of this count, it's going to expend my flurry strike charges. This is a quality of life change, which is great for both like players like myself, as well as anyone who uses like base UI or isn't very good at weak auras. Now again, you don't really care to track how much energy you spend. There's like some slight optimizations you can do to be like, oh, I have the shadow damage buff and there's an ad set that's about to come out on this raid fight, so I kind of want to delay my energy spending for like 2 or 3 seconds, so when they do spawn, I can just deal big damage. You're going to see this in fights like Rashanan or, something like that, or maybe even Olgarax in the raid. In Mythic Plus, you don't really care too much about it. But all in all, very good. Also, I'm guessing it's intended at this point now, the tier set still doesn't count. The free proc of Keg Smash doesn't count towards the energy gain, which is, again, I guess at this point it's fine, it's whatever. But you can now see that Spinning Crane Kick now grants you stacks, which is good. It's actually counting the energy. So you're now able to just prioritize Spinning Crane Kick in larger AoE pools because you're not losing out on flurry strike damage or Wisdom of the Wall buffs in that scenario. So all around, good changes. I'm very happy with these. I don't know if I'll be playing Master of Harmony, though I do think this is going to pull it in line, so any players who do enjoy playing it, it's going to be good. And then 11.0.5, we are getting some nice quality of life changes. Supposedly, this is coming out in the next couple weeks, so it's not too far down the road. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions down below or what you're looking forward to from these changes or your thoughts. Massive shout out to my Patreon supporters because without you guys, I couldn't make content like this. I hope you're all staying happy, healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.